Hey guys, it's Vanessa from Unmasked. So the Idaho 4 case has gotten completely crazy and continues to do so with a million different theories. We've heard everything from someone who is already living inside the house all the way to a serial killer randomly driving across the country. We don't know for sure what happened to Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana that night, but I do personally believe that it's much less complicated than where some of these theories have gone. In this video, I want to go over some of the newest information that we've received and how I think they may possibly put more pieces of the puzzle together. Of course, this is just my speculation, but I do think that we've recently received some new clues that are starting to make things fall into place. I want to clarify, of course, that I am not accusing anyone of anything. These are just my observations, and you can obviously come to your own conclusions. Before we get started, if you love Unmasked and want to show some quick and easy support, please take a moment to click on those 3 things that tell YouTube that you want to see more content. The thumbs up, subscribe, and that notification bell set to all, so you'll be notified of all of our upcoming videos. Also, after you watch this, please share everywhere you can. So let's jump into it. We do have a few new pieces of information from the past several days, and it's got me feeling, a certain type of way. It feels purposeful and calculated. I personally believe they do have a suspect and are making sure they just build a very strong case, which of course they can't afford not to. It seems like there's been a shift in the past week and a half, and in my opinion, investigators' language has been different, their energy has been different, and it almost feels like there's possibly a little bit of cat and mouse going on. I know there's a lot of people saying they think this case is going to go cold. I completely disagree. I do think the walls are closing in on a suspect and that we'll be seeing an arrest soon, but that's just my opinion, so we shall see. Okay, so first, recently we started hearing about this white Hyundai Elantra, and suddenly it's the biggest piece that they are pushing the public for help on. Okay, so let's go over what we know so far about the timeline and what they've released on the white Hyundai Elantra. A landlord on Linda Lane, which is the street that faces Taylor Avenue and about 3/10 of a mile from the house where the murders occurred, came out and said that the police came to him the day after the murders and obtained footage from that night. He also disclosed that there was a white vehicle that drove past the house heading westbound on Taylor Avenue the night of the murders between 2:45 and 3:15 a.m. So it does appear that police have known about this vehicle since the very beginning, but are now choosing to bring the public in on it. I'm sure they have their good reasons for that. I did find the 30-minute window interesting. If the vehicle was recorded going by the house, one would think there would be a specific timestamp on this. So why are we getting the window of 2:45 to 3:15 a.m.? Why not just give the exact time like the gas station attendant did? Of course, we also know that a vehicle that is possibly the same one is later seen speeding by a gas station near 3:45 a.m. about a mile away. The vehicle is heading westbound on White Avenue and Highway 8, which almost seems like it's heading back towards the scene of the murders. We also learned that investigators are pulling cameras from an insurance agent's office on Main Street that's a straight shot up from the grub truck. It's almost as if they're expecting to possibly see the vehicle follow Kaylee and Maddie from the corner club. Okay, so the next important thing in my opinion is we now have the new footage of Kaylee and Maddie with someone who appears to be Hoodie Guy from the food truck, who is of course widely believed to be Jack Showalter. It was implied that the purpose of this video was to show that the Hoodie Guy, as he's commonly referred to, was not following them and was actually hanging out with them and arrived at the food truck with them. I personally do agree with that. If you watch the entire food truck video and not just the clips that were taken kind of out of context, it does seem like they're hanging out, that everything's fine, and that he arrives there with them. So hopefully this will stop some of the finger pointing that's gone on surrounding him. However, that's not what caught my attention in this video, and I think that could be pretty much expected. So again, I find it strange that with everything that's gone on, everyone kind of figured how this would go if a specific name is thrown out in the video. It is important to note that this footage was allegedly given by a resident of Moscow to a Facebook group and then given to Fox News, that it wasn't specifically released by police. Also, there is a still that was released with some of the audio. The actual video was not released to protect the identity, and I would assume for other reasons as well. So let's take a listen.
What did you say to Adam? I told him everything.
You can hear that Kaylee sounds a little heated or upset and says, "Maddie, what did you say to Adam?" Maddie then responds with, "I told Adam everything." It appears that this video was taken just hours before they were murdered and as they're on the way to the grub truck. So do I think it's significant? Yeah. I think that any kind of situation that happened right before would be significant, especially when you look at everything in totality and the fact that this was just randomly released. So that brings us to later that night, a new interview was released on Fox. Coincidentally, Fox was also the same media outlet as you saw who exclusively showed this new surveillance video clip. The interview was with Kaylee's father, Steve, and his lawyer, Shannon Gray. So Steve says that they have already seen the video and that the police have had it for a long time and that the girls were discussing their bartender, Adam. So why is this interesting or potentially significant? Well, it didn't take long for the internet to find Adam. After all, he's friends with both Maddie and Kaylee. There was also a post, I can't speak to its validity, but I will say that it was interesting because it does show Adam, the same Adam that was found by the internet that is friends with Adam and Kaylee, that it shows that Adam as potentially a bartender at the corner club. What's more interesting is that it appears that Adam may be Kaylee's ex-boyfriend Jack D's roommate. It has been widely circulated that Kaylee's ex Jack D and 3 other students are renting a house about 300 feet from 11 King Road where the murders happened. In fact, there is a direct line of sight from that house to Kaylee's house. Again, I am not accusing anyone of anything or insinuating anything. I'm just pointing out the fact that it is interesting timing. You're just maybe, 2 hours out from 4 students being murdered, and you can tell by this clip, it appears that tensions are high and that it actually does possibly involve someone who is living with Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. I think that's something to maybe stop and pause and look at. And just minutes before they are all brutally murdered, Kaylee and Maddie are repeat calling Jack D, and that goes on from 2:26 a.m. till 2:52 a.m. Keep in mind, the police are giving us this time frame of 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. So minutes before, they're repeat calling, which, yes, we hear that's normal for her. I have never felt like that was normal, especially if you look at the other circumstances. So they've been broken up for 2 weeks. Did something happen that night? Now looking at this new footage where they were trying to get in touch with him to maybe smooth things over, to explain something, and Kaylee couldn't reach him, so that's would explain the calls from Maddie's phone if maybe Kaylee thought she was blocked. And before I get a million comments saying that drunk dialing is completely normal, what's wrong with me? Yeah, I was in college too. I actually lived in a house with 5 girls, a party house, much similar to this setup. So I can kind of relate on that level. And I did plenty of drunk dialing myself, but I'm still here to talk about it. So I guess my point is that the timing, when you add it with everything else, it's something to look at. We also know that during those texts to Jack D that night, that Kaylee said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, "Don't ignore me, we own a dog together." So again, just mentioning those things, no idea if any of that is connected, but again, very interesting. And I guess we'll have to wait to find out what possible situation Maddie was referring to in that footage. So let's move on to some interesting points around where people were sleeping and Kaylee and Jack's dog, Murphy. I found an article dated December 14th where Kaylee's parents mentioned that Murphy slept with either Kaylee or Maddie at night. I had not seen this before, so I thought it was interesting. I mean, obviously it makes sense. I just hadn't seen it in writing. So if that's the case, why was the dog found in an empty bedroom that, according to investigators, was not involved in the crime scene? We also know from Kaylee's family that Kaylee had taken the dog out when she got back. So we don't know exactly what time, and I looked for it. If you guys know, please let me know. It was there at the beginning, and I cannot find it anywhere, and I gave up after looking. But somewhere it does note the time and that she was seen letting the dog out. So then that makes me wonder, where was Murphy when the killer broke in and went upstairs? Now, if the dog, like they said, was found in an empty bedroom, I think a lot of people assumed it was the empty bedroom on the second floor. However, you can see from social media posts of Dylan's and some of the other girls that the empty bedroom was actually on the first floor on the right side, so directly under Xana's bedroom. So it wouldn't make any sense to me for the dog to be there, especially if he sleeps with Kaylee or Maddie. What I think they probably meant, and part of the reason that they seem so reluctant to answer any questions, is technically Kaylee's bedroom was empty that night because she was with Maddie and that's where the murders occurred. Now, if you couple that with the fact that they said the dog was nowhere near the crime scenes, that indicates that the killer went upstairs, took the dog into Kaylee's room, shut the dog in there, and then went back into Maddie's room and killed them. What do you guys think? Does it make sense that a killer that is full of absolute rage would come into the house with 6 people in it and take the time to move the dog out of the way? A killer that committed such horrific crimes that investigators, refer to it as the bloodiest crime scene ever, and saying that no human should have ever seen those things. Does that make sense to you? I'd love to know your thoughts. My personal theory at this point is that the killer entered through the back sliding door, went directly up to the 3rd floor, and then either ran into the dog in the hallway or coaxed Murphy out and took the time to shut him in Kaylee's bedroom and spare him from any harm. Kaylee's parents also stated in that interview that the dog would whine and scratch at the door if left in a room alone. Could that have woken Ethan up? Kaylee's dad says in this interview tonight that 2 of the victims had self-defense wounds. Since it's widely believed that Ethan was found outside of the bedroom, I would assume that those 2 people were Xana and Ethan. So again, this is just my opinion, but I personally do not believe that the killer had intentions of killing anyone else besides Kaylee. I do believe she was the target. That could change if we get new information, but based on everything we have right now, that is what I believe. I believe that his plan went sideways and he ended up having to kill 4 people. This then leads me to my next obsessive burning question of the moment, which is, where was Dylan Mortensen sleeping the night of the murders? I can't remember ever seeing it confirmed by law enforcement that she was in the basement. It's like one of those things which has happened a lot that was said by the media and just repeated as fact, but you can't really track it back. There are a lot of people suggesting that she had moved from the basement up to room 2A months ago, which would be really close to where everything went down with Xana and Ethan, which is very interesting. And let me clarify, I am not insinuating anything at all. I did hear just a couple days ago Kaylee's family say that they had not heard from either of the surviving roommates still, but there could be many reasons for that. And they've been quiet in lockdown, which is, I think, a very good thing. And it could be because one of them or both of them hold information that is crucial to the investigation and they don't want them talking to anyone. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the latest developments and everything that was talked about in this video? Do you think that there's any significance to the video that was released and what was being talked about? We have seen information come out and then be walked back. It's been very obvious that's been going on. I personally think that everything at this point is extremely strategic. Just my 2 cents. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will have more videos out shortly. Please let me know all your thoughts below in comments. Stay safe and see you next video.